The Rizzuto Show.
All right, welcome back to the Rizz Show. Well, we got a guest in here. A real heavy hitter, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Police Chief Dotson is here.
Wow, that's unusual. I don't normally get that when I walk in a room.
You're always welcome here. Listen, during the break, Patrico's dad over here is in Vegas. And we gave him, what, $100?
Well, we gave him 80, and then he put in another 20, so that.
Oh, so now he's part of the show?
The five of us is the $100.
Okay, so we put $100 on black or red for us on roulette. And he's at the table right now.
Yep.
And the first one hit, so we won $100.
Yep.
We told him to throw the winning $100 on the table again, and he hit. So now what are we doing?
Wait a minute, let me do the math. We're at 1,000,
what are we doing
right?
now?
So
And then we took
50.
50. Then we told him on Moon's advice, we told him to take 50 of our winnings and put it on black, and we just lost.
Damn it, Moon!
Oh, don't you dare! Don't you dare! You didn't even explain what happened prior to
He's
that.
asking what now. He's asking what now.
Because
What now?
we would have said 100
Yeah,
again.
because you guys said take that 100 and put it
So
on.
right now
said
our winnings
red.
are
First of all,
winnings.
stop. We'll go back. You were all anxious because we were going back on air, but I said what you do with that additional 100 is you take 25 of that and you split it
Can you
on
arrest
numbers.
him?
Yes, please.
And then you take the other 25.
In this room,
and put
he's the
that
one I should arrest, right?
Yes.
Come on.
He wants to know what we need to do now.
What? Come on, Mr. Kenny
Okay,
Rogers
you,
over
you
here.
take the additional 50. So
Kenny
we were
Rogers.
100 down. I mean, that was ours, and then we won 100,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
so
we lost
So
50
we lost.
of it?
So we're
Right.
150
We're
right
up
We're
now.
at 150.
Okay, and you guys were totally okay with the whole break-even thing. If you're okay with that, when you'd like to do
Are we
another
cashing
round.
out?
Yeah, no,
Let's
50.
cash out.
You don't want to put the 50
I
on
put
the line?
50 on black.
It's
No,
gravy.
no,
We're doing gravy.
No, you put 25 on
I
black.
can't explain this to my old
Yes,
man in
you
3
can.
seconds. We need a
All right,
simple decision.
25 on black.
Say 25 on black, and then the additional 25 on numbers. His choice.
Oh no, we're not going.
Oh,
No,
it's gonna
no,
be
just-
too
We're not going
confusing.
numbers.
It's going to
What
be
was
too
it-
confusing.
It's not the
50
police.
on black.
What if you hit? Then we
50
get
on
100
black.
back.
50 on
50 on
black.
black.
All right, that's all the time we have for Chief Dotson. Thanks for being here.
I'm checking to see if this is legal. So,
He's already arrested
cell phone
me once.
gambling, texting
I know what
gambling.
I'm doing here, guys.
Well, thank you for coming. And last time you were here, I think it was about a year ago.
Okay.
And just so you know, for that time you on the air with us, we won a friggin' award. How about that?
We actually really honestly did. We really did.
We won a Missouri Broadcasters Association award. Seriously.
How many were competing for it?
It was
One?
just us. Zing. Zing. Damn.
Burn.
Damn this guy. You better bring it now.
All right, let's go.
You better bring it. How have things progressed since the last time you were here? Because last time you were here, I mean, things were, and you got to admit, things were pretty bad downtown. At least perception was bad.
And that's the challenge. When the mayor and I were here, we're coming out of Ferguson. We're coming out of the shooting of Mike Brown. We're talking about what's happening in our region. We've had some real high-profile incidents that have happened in downtown that don't reflect really what's going on. Downtown, downtown west, those two neighborhoods are some of the safest neighborhoods we have. But like any big city, Chicago, Baltimore, Dallas, Tucson, any city you go to is going to have challenges in their urban core. That's not reflective of what happens every day.
Right.
And in those big crimes that happen, we've solved them. We've caught the people that have been responsible. We know who did it. So I think that's an important message, that we catch bad guys when crimes
I
happen.
think the last time we were here, that gentleman got shot outside the stadium, the vet.
Chris Sanus.
Yeah, he was shot, and I think, he was he caught? It took a week to catch the guy.
Not quite a week, yeah. And the good news for me, criminals aren't always smart. And so he stole some credit cards and used his credit
What a
cards
dummy.
and got video of him, and we're able to catch him. Just like we had the shooting of the young woman downtown. We knew who that individual was in about 24 hours, and they were wanted for a murder that happened in Illinois.
Yeah, and this was the one on Washington Avenue.
Right.
Where they and these people had no idea it was a random act of violence.
They were looking for somebody. They
And she had a nice car.
Approached a young woman who had a nice car, told her to get out of her car. She resisted, and then they shot and killed her in front of a friend and in front of her infant
And with
child.
the kid in the back.
Yeah. But again, within 24 hours, we knew who he was. He was wanted for a homicide on the east side, and ultimately died in a shootout with police
Right.
officers in Illinois.
Well, you guys had that surveillance video out almost immediately.
It is, and that's one of the things that we're doing downtown. We've got video cameras downtown, surveillance cameras that are high visibility, red and blue flashing lights that catch a lot of things that go on downtown and let us get into it. It's reduced crime downtown. They're working.
Well, what do you think about people going, oh, well, now Big Brother's watching? Now you got so many cameras. Where's my safety? Where's my privacy?
these cameras aren't looking in your bedroom. These are looking at when you walk down the street on Washington Avenue. They look at you when you're on Market. They look at you when you walk into a bank or a movie theater. In the public space, you should have no expectation of privacy. Hey, I walked in here and you got me on video.
Right.
So that's really the world that we live in. Everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's on video. And if you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about.
Well, it's always the people crying about privacy are the ones first to run to Facebook to post whatever, hey, look at my bowel movement.
Hey, I did that once. Come on.
Did you win an award for that one?
Yes.
So,
Yes,
but
every day.
that's really it. These are things that keep our community safe. And people have an expectation. If we didn't have video cameras, people go, well, why didn't you have a camera there?
Yeah.
It's a no-win for me sometimes.
What is the body cam situation now with St. Louis Police?
So we just did a pilot program with our sergeants about body cameras. If you're asking Sam Dotson, if I'm a young police officer just getting out of the academy, I don't want to leave the station without a body camera because everybody's going to second guess me. Everybody's going to armchair quarterback me, and everybody expects to see a video. So I'm pro body cameras. I think the technology is ahead of the laws. I think the laws have to catch up about, if you're a victim of a crime and I'm recording you, can Jeff watch it? I mean, that's really the way that the laws are set up now. Sunshine laws allow him to ask for video that doesn't involve him. I think we got to be smarter about those types of things, and we're moving in that direction. But if I'm a young policeman, I want a body camera.
Well, I saw you on TV last year. I mean, quite pissed off about something that happened, and thank God there was a camera. I don't know if it was a body cam or it was a dash cam, but it was down here.
Yeah.
It was down in this area where I guess somebody had been pulled over, a family had been pulled over, and your officer was super nice to the guys, like super nice. In fact, somebody was driving without a license.
Yeah.
And
they just talked to him and let him go. So here's that story.
But then that family came and said you pulled a gun on him. The police officer was disrespectful, and you were on TV immediately going, no.
It's like telephone. So if you tell Jeff something, he gets it wrong when he tells it to Moon. So what happened is the family told a story, and it got embellished. Here's what really happened. Police officers did their job. They pulled over a car that didn't have proper plates. They were professional. They talked to him. At the end of the day, they said, hey, why don't you just get this taken care of? Have a nice day. And they left. The family wanted to say, they pulled out their guns, they pointed them at a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Right, that was the big story. That was the headline.
And we had video that said 100% didn't happen. But people wanted to believe it so much because they saw it on social media that there were 75 people in front of police headquarters that were protesting for something that didn't even happen.
Wow.
That made me mad.
Yeah, you were pissed. I think I even said to the guys, boy, the chief is.
Yeah,
now
he
I'm
was
pissed
a little
again.
upset.
Now I'm pissed again.
All worked up. We were talking initially. You brought up the crime that's happening down here and how are things a year later. And I know just about supposedly scheduled about 7 minutes ago, the mayor is supposed to sign in the Good Samaritan bill, which I don't. Now that I know what it is, I don't know why this thing hasn't been on the books for a gazillion years.
Yeah,
explain what that is.
And I was a supporter of that bill because I think it makes sense. So people know that we have heroin problems in the region, not just in the city, but in the region. St. Louis County, St. Charles, Jefferson County, all over. The Good Samaritan law allows people that may be involved in some low-level drug activity, call 911 if you're having a problem, if you're in a medical crisis, if you need help, without worrying about the consequences. What we were seeing is that people would overdose, and it's easy to overdose on heroin, especially when it's laced with fentanyl. It's easy to overdose. People were just walking away and saying, not my problem. What we want them to do is get help for that individual to save lives. That's what this Good Samaritan law does.
And these people
and
are
it's
like, I'm
smart.
not getting in trouble.
It's smart.
Yeah.
And I'm not pro-drug. I'm not being pro-drug. Maybe in this room I should be, but
Yeah,
we'll
right.
talk about that later. But I'm not being pro-drug. I'm not being pro-drug here. What I am is
to be tranquilized.
trying to save lives and trying to do what's right for our community. Over 300 people, or it's an increase of over 300%, have died because of heroin overdoses over the last couple of years.
Why do your police officers not have the Narcan?
So it's easy. Our EMS responds so quickly in the city of St. Louis. I'd rather have it administered by a medical professional than a police officer. If we were a rural community and it was 20, 25 minutes,
Yeah,
for
the
a
Narcan
medic-
stuff is the if you're overdosing, it's the overdose drug. It stops your overdose.
It's going to save your life.
Exactly. Sometimes medical professionals, EMS, gets to a call before we do. It makes sense. Let it be administered by medical professionals and not police officers. Rural communities, I get it. Police officers, sheriffs need it. In the city, we got a system that works.
Is that the Pulp Fiction drug?
That's what I understand to be right in the heart, right in
No,
the movie.
it's not quite that dramatic.
No, not that
It's
one.
there's
like
a nasal.
So if I'm
nasal-
overdosing, Uma Thurman's not going to come save my life? Is that what you're saying?
No, Travolta's going to drive up on the lawn. And do it.
So there are a couple versions of different drugs out there that do that, but it saves lives, and this Good Samaritan law will save lives too, I hope.
All right, so last time you were here, and I want to do like a this is why I wanted you in here as an update on from last time. You were talking about needing more officers.
Yes.
Like needing more officers. We need more officers. That's a big problem. That's why some of these, we can't be everywhere at once. That's why some of this stuff is happening. Mm-hmm. We want to patrol the streets, but we just don't have enough officers. There's the rule that you have to live in the city to be a city officer? Is that the rule?
So the rule is now for the first 7 years of your career. So from day 1 through year 7, you got to live in the city. After that, you get to move out. Mm-hmm. I do need more officers. So let's talk about the reality for just a second.
Yeah, why can't we just lift that thing and get officers from
where?
I'm going to say a word that should be 4 letters: politics. So let's. We're in the process of hiring officers right now. I have 85 police officers in our academy. Here's the unfortunate part: I'm short 120 right now, and you know why? The city doesn't pay as much as other municipalities. Maybe the residency rule. And it's a dangerous job, and it's just not quite the profession that it used to be because people, would you want to come to work every day and just get beat up and beat up and beat up by the media, by activists in the community when you're out there trying to do the right thing, trying to save lives? Yeah. It's a tough job.
I have a brother-in-law who's I believe a Brentwood cop. He started down in the city. I have a couple of very good friends that I grew up with, started down in the city, and after a couple of years, they're like, man, I'm going to get out and get better pay and not quite as much violence around me as well. And that's got to be a tough thing.
But there are plenty of people that want to help out here that don't live here.
Exactly. And so we are working on dropping that. It used to be you had to live here your whole entire career. When I started, you had to live here your whole entire career. 7 years, maybe we'll be able to move that needle down a little bit more.
But why is there such resistance to lifting that?
So I think what it is that people believe that if you live in the community that you serve, you're going to be more connected, more attached to it.
I understand.
So that's really the argument. But here's the argument on the other way. We live in a city that has a challenged school system. We live in a city that's only 64 square miles. Housing is, you pay a premium to live in some neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. Let's do this as a region. Let's look at all the problems as a region, whether it's transportation, law enforcement, jobs, education, and not just have the city as an island by itself.
Well, when you look at the crime stats, and people are going, well, you got to take into account the county and stuff like that. We're one big region. I mean, this is so I live in Chesterfield, but I still say I live in St. Louis.
Exactly.
You can live in Baldwin and you still live in St. Louis.
Exactly. And that's, if you look around the country, the communities that are being really successful now, Louisville, Indianapolis, Charlotte, Mecklenburg, they've seen that consolidation. They've realized, and the group here is called Better Together. We are better together, not better apart. So I believe the city and the county have to figure this out. Mm-hmm. Is it the city rejoining the county? I don't know, but we got to figure it out. It's not working.
We have a friend of the show that he lives in South City and saw his neighbor's house being broken into. Saw it be broken into. Called 911, and they didn't send anybody.
See, I love those anecdotes. If you tell me when, where, I'll find out why, and I'll make sure that we deal with it. Because I can't. We live on anecdote. I get it as a society.
I know.
But if you call 911, the police have to respond, and they do respond, and they will respond. We have over 300,000 calls. If we were responding to those calls every year, people would be marching in the street going, where are the police?
You also have to prioritize things.
So it might not be in the first 2 minutes. You're absolutely right. If there's something more important going on, not that your crime's not, but if there's a more violent crime going on, we're going to go there first. A burglary in progress, we should be there right away.
Yeah, it's the anecdotes. I mean, you got to get the full story.
Yeah,
I mean, I trust this guy, and he says, he saw prowlers. He called 911. He called again. They didn't send it. Did they ever wind up sending anybody? You remember that story?
No, they did not.
Yeah, he said that nobody came at all.
Nobody ever came.
But if you think about it, we have over 300,000 911 calls a year. If we weren't answering, going to calls, there'd be people marching in the street. Where are the police? So I'm not disagreeing with you. I'd just like to know more.
All right. So this weekend, it's very busy this weekend in St. Louis. You got the Bellator fight over at Scottrade tonight. You have the Olympic trials going down at Chaffetz. And you have the Pridefest going on this weekend.
Absolutely.
In the city. So what is being done to keep everybody safe and secure?
So we actually, overall, every weekend, we took a play out of New York PD, NYPD. They take extra officers and put them into those busy areas like Manhattan and stuff on the weekends. So we've been doing that for the past couple of months. We call it our supplemental patrol. But this weekend, because of Pridefest, and we can't forget what happened in Orlando just 2 weeks ago, we've got extra officers in uniform, in plain clothes. Highway Patrol is actually going to be down with us to give us those extra officers that we needed. So you're going to see a lot of presence in downtown around Pridefest starting tonight through Sunday. I don't have a crystal ball. There are no threats against the parade, against Pridefest. But if you would have asked Orlando, there were no threats that night in their city either. We have a force downtown ready to protect everybody. So feel safe to come downtown. Again, no threats, and you're going to see police officers.
So no threats, huh?
No threats.
I mean, on average, how many threats do you get a year,
a
month, a week?
They're enough that it keeps me awake some nights to worry about stuff.
Yeah.
But again, good department, good conversation with our federal partners. We're on top of most of them, and most of them you never hear about. Maybe you heard about a couple.
Is there anyone you could talk about that's kind of in the past?
Yeah, certainly. There were a couple of individuals that had planned a bomb at the Arch. They were arrested, charged federally. So those types of things aren't fiction. They do happen. So within the last year, 2 individuals were arrested for a plot to blow up the Arch.
I mean, is this? Yeah, that was a pretty big story.
Yeah.
And when they connected to, I forget if they were connected to somebody or it was just 2 rogue dummies.
They weren't connected to an international group, but they were sort of out there in the fringes.
The Arch. Why the Arch?
Yeah, if you think about it, when you look to disrupt, and this is why New York is always such a big target, it's such an iconic figure for the United States. The World Trade Center, Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty. Hey, the Gateway Arch is an iconic figure. There's only one in the world.
Sure.
And so if you're able to strike deep into the heartland, deep into the Midwest, and do something like that, I think you get extra points.
Well, and think about it. If you blow it up and that thing falls over one way or the other, it's going to hit a lot of people too. You know what I mean?
Well,
you could take out a lot of people that way. It's a pretty tall thing. If it falls towards the buildings.
Yeah, so I think it's always about being able to send a message. 49 people lost their lives in Orlando. I mean, people are taking credit for that. That's really what's mind-boggling. People are taking credit for killing human beings. Take credit for knocking down the gateway to the West in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
Huge.
And I'm sure it's hard for you guys to find these lone wolves. Because that's one of those buzz terms, lone wolf.
Well, and it is. And there's a phenomenon called going dark. And what it is people are recruited on the webs through social media, through other groups, and then taken to these dark sites that are end-to-end encryption that the FBI can't even get through. That's scary because we have no idea what's going on. With a search warrant and a subpoena, you can get into some information. But when you go into a dark site, you're end-to-end encryption. You could be talking about anything and nobody knows. And the FBI director has talked about that. That's a huge concern at the federal level.
Boy, thank God these guys are just, some of them are not very smart. And some of these guys slip up in the dumbest ways. But then you have the guy like the Orlando shooter.
Yeah, it is.
And
hey, I never want to, my job's to keep everybody safe. That's why I don't sleep at night, because I never want that to happen in our community. I push and push and push to get as much information as we can, to share as much information as we can to keep everybody safe. It's a big deal to me. And again, I don't have a crystal ball, and it's not like the Minority Report. It's not like Tom Cruise and I get a magic ball 18 hours before something, so I got 18 hours to go figure it out. I got minutes sometimes to figure stuff out.
I know the mayor said he's not running for re-election. Was that a shock to you, or you kind of knew?
No, it was. He's telling everybody. He's raising money. He said, "I'm going to run. I'm going to do another term." He will be the longest-serving mayor. He would have gone another term, been the super longest-serving mayor ever. So it was a surprise to everybody. I got a call about a half hour before the press conference, and he goes, "I just want to tell you," and your jaw hits the floor. It's like, wow.
Yeah, because I know everybody was kind of shocked by that. Would you consider running?
I like being police chief. I really do.
I mean, you can be a politician.
You have to. If anybody tells you a police officer is not political, they're lying to you. Because half of our job is dealing with aldermen and things like that. I like being police chief. I like summer is our busy season. I like focusing on that. I'm thinking about stuff.
You're thinking about doing it, maybe?
I'm thinking about stuff.
Thinking about things and stuff.
Things and stuff.
Things and stuff.
I know you guys are doing a lot of outreach. The Coffee with Cops program. It's nice to see you guys getting out in the community and shaking hands and kissing the babies and having the kids pet the dogs and stuff like that. It's nice to see those pictures.
It is, and you know what? When we go to neighborhoods, everybody comes up and says, thanks for being here, thanks for being here. You know, the news media portrays that this big rift between the community and police officers. Hey, we can always do better, absolutely. But whether I'm in North St. Louis or South St. Louis, everybody comes up and says, we appreciate you. We want to see more of you, but we really appreciate the work that you do. So don't believe everything you see on the TV.
I believe nothing.
Believe everything you hear on the radio, but
There
it's
you
not
go.
on TV.
Yes, believe this. Believe this.
Hey, speaking of the coffee with police officers, I got to take this opportunity to apologize for walking into like the most cliche joke ever earlier. These guys know every time we have a guest here, I didn't do it on purpose, man. I didn't do it.
Donut?
I did, man.
He did, and I looked at him like, really?
They both laughed, and I was like, I don't get the joke, but okay. And then we're going. Because one of the program directors today brought donuts for all the DJs and everything. So when our guests come in, I always say, "Hey, you guys need water, coffee, whatever you need." And I said, "You guys need water, coffee? I can get you some donuts." And
You're like, ooh. Yeah, but you know what though?
I didn't even think about it until they pointed it out. They're like, "That's a good joke."
Donuts are good, regardless of being a dumb stereotype thing. I'm Italian. You know what I like? Spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah, you don't walk into a radio station, somebody goes, "Oh, hey, you want some spaghetti?"
I've got some spaghetti on the stove. You want some? Yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, I do. As a matter of fact, I do. That's
So I
right.
ran right into that one. Sorry, fellas.
Well, thank you for coming in, and I appreciate the update. And you have to come in and give us more updates, and you can always come in anytime.
Well, I appreciate that. How we do it in Vegas? We win.
yes.
Oh yeah,
We won.
All right.
He wants to know. He said, you got to let me know what to do.
See, now I say you split it in half, and you put half on black, and then the other half on random numbers. Just pick
Oh,
the
wait.
numbers.
Update. He said, table started to get very crowded. Felt like I was getting forced out. I placed one last bet, $50. Total winnings, $350.
Now stop.
He walked out. He
Stop.
walked away.
We're out.
Now,
We're out.
We won $350.
Go
All right.
back to the room.
Fantastic. Police Chief Dotson, thank you very much.
yeah.
Thank you very much. It's the Rizz Show.
The Rizzuto Show.